Hi, welcome to Swing State News. My name is Lucas Whitty, political researcher of the battleground states. And today, we are going to cover North Carolina's political climate and what you should expect to see on your 2026 midterm primary election, which is being held on March 3rd of 2026. First off, let's talk about North Carolina on a federal level and how the state is currently represented in the United States Congress. Out of the 435 members in the U.S. House, North Carolina hosts 14 of those members. All members of Congress are being voted on this year. North Carolina is currently represented by 10 Republicans and 4 Democrats, and each member is supposed to represent 700 to 800,000 people in their district. And just a reminder, these members of Congress in the House serve 2-year terms and are currently non-term limited. Also, Districts 1 and 3 are slightly shifting from the last election cycle. Now, let's talk about the open U.S. Senate spot in North Carolina. The United States Senate consists of 100 members, 2 seats for every state, and they serve in 6-year terms. There are 3 classes of senators, meaning we vote for 33 to 34 senators every 2 years. North Carolina will be voting on one of their Senate spots this election cycle. Sometimes in these elections, the seat does not change if the incumbent member wins. However, Senator Thom Tillis announced on June 29, 2025, that he will not be seeking re-election. In his announcement, he talked about how it was a blessing to go on a journey from living in a trailer park and living on minimum wage to having the honor of serving as U.S. Senator for North Carolina. He talked about things he was proud of passing, like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and confirming 3 conservative Supreme Court justices. He then went on to speak about how proud he was to work in a bipartisan manner. He said, "It's become increasingly evident that leaders who are willing to embrace bipartisanship, compromise, and demonstrate independent thinking are becoming an endangered species." And if you want to read his whole announcement, a link will be in the description. Thom Tillis has served in the U.S. Senate since 2015, winning the midterm election of 2014. He won with 48.82% of the vote and won by a margin of 1.5 points in 2020. He won again with 48.69% of the vote and won by a margin of 1.75 points. Either way, this seat is looking to be a super tight race. Over $20 million have been raised overall so far. Now, let's talk about North Carolina on a state level. North Carolina has 120 state representatives and 50 state senators. State representatives and state senators both serve 2-year terms. Unlike the state of Michigan, which we covered on the first video of this channel, North Carolina's state legislature does not have term limits, meaning the only way members of the state legislature change seats is by voting them out, resignation, or death. Currently, out of the 120 state representatives, 71 of them are Republicans and 49 of them are Democrats. Out of the 50 state senators, there are 30 Republicans and 20 Democrats. Clearly, Republicans hold a very safe majority in North Carolina's state legislature. So why is it a swing state? Well, even though they hold a safe majority, even in the way they are represented in the U.S. House, there are some super tight statewide races, like the U.S. Senate spots and the governor, which is currently Democrat Josh Stein. FYI, North Carolina's governor is voted in concurrent with the presidential elections. Bringing all this together, if the state were to gain 1 extra Republican seat in the state House of Representatives, North Carolina would be held by a supermajority in the House and Senate. What this means is they could override any veto of the governor, almost making the role of governor useless. All right, back to the state representatives. Like we said earlier, out of the 120 members, 71 of them are Republicans and 49 are Democrats. State reps are to represent around 87,000 people in their district. Once again, they serve 2-year terms and will all be voted upon this upcoming primary and general election by the people. The current Speaker of the House is Republican Destin Hall, who also represents District 87. He took over from the previous Speaker, Tim Moore, who stepped down after being elected to Congress. On to the state Senate. Like state representatives, state senators are voted upon every 2 years in North Carolina. Out of the 50 state senators, 30 of them are Republicans and 20 of them are Democrats. That means Republicans hold a supermajority in the state Senate of this battleground state. State senators are to represent around 208,000 people in their district. The lieutenant governor is Democrat Rachel Hunt, the president of the Senate. Her role is to preside over Senate sessions and cast tie-breaking votes, which hardly ever happens. She doesn't participate in day-to-day debate, committee assignments, or agenda setting. That would be President pro tempore Phil Berger. Republican Phil Berger holds the day-to-day power in the chamber currently. Also, let's talk a little about North Carolina's state governor, even though he will not be voted upon this election cycle. Currently, Democrat Josh Stein is governor of North Carolina. He assumed office at the beginning of 2025, after winning the 2024 gubernatorial election. Governor Stein won by nearly 15 points. Meanwhile, President Trump won this state in the same year by nearly 3.5 points. This is called ticket splitting, and this is not the first time that this has happened in the state. Another reason why we can consider this state a swing state. This is the third time in a row that this state has split the ticket, where the governor and president they vote for are from different parties. Starting in 2016, Roy Cooper, who was one of the candidates running for U.S. Senator, he was governor from 2017 to 2025 and won by less than 5 points each time. Roy Cooper is a Democrat, and even though he won the governor race in North Carolina, President Trump won during those years as well, splitting the ticket between Democrat governor and Republican president. Then, of course, it happened again in 2024 when Democrat Josh Stein won, and so did President Trump. The next election for governor in North Carolina will be in 2028. Alrighty, overall, North Carolina will be voting on all 14 U.S. House representatives this November, with a controversial district line change on the east side of the state. They will also be voting for a U.S. Senator, as Class 2 senators are being voted upon this cycle. This seat will for sure be changing as Senator Tillis announced he is not seeking re-election. Also, on the state level, the state legislature will be voted upon this midterm, where Republicans hold a near supermajority in both the House and the Senate. The primary election for North Carolina is one of the earliest, and it is held on March 3rd, and followed by the general election where every U.S. citizen will vote on November 3rd, unless of course you vote early. My advice to you, if you want to see exactly who you are voting for in this primary, is fill out the information on North Carolina's State Board of Elections website, which is linked in the description below, and look up your local, state, and federal candidates for the 2026 midterm election. Thank you for watching, and before you leave, like and subscribe to follow along for more swing state news.